Mm-hmm. First draft. It's only gonna be finished. Its only job is to exist. Hmm. Hmm. I try not to repeat words too often, especially in the same paragraph, unless it's on purpose, like a rhythm. Okay, it's done. I'll read it. The Hollow Girl. Once upon a time, on the very edge of a village, tucked between two mountains and miles of forest, there lived a pale girl with ghostly white hair that floated around her head, almost as if she was underwater. Eyes like a cave fish, and no eyebrows at all. Her clothes were drab gray, and she looked a lot like a living moonbeam. There was a silly rumor that she glowed in the dark, but the weirdest thing about her was that she made a hollow clunking with every step, almost like her little wooden shoes were actually drums. It was said that she was a witch. It was said that she was born under a dark moon during a blighted harvest. The villagers all avoided her, and though they didn't actually say so, they disliked and mistrusted her, so she avoided them too. Every night after moonrise, she would walk the dark streets between the shops and houses, her hollow footfalls plunking and thunking. A very lonely expression on her face. Safe indoors, the villagers would shutter their windows and huddle deep under their covers. The sound of those empty footfalls chilled them to their very bones. None of them would even dare a peek. Worse still, any villager caught out of doors while she made her rounds was locked in place till sunrise. Though whether from fear or dark magic, no one could say for certain. One clear evening, when the moon would rise full, the bravest man in the town decided that he was going to get to the bottom of the mystery and maybe for once free the town from the thrall this strange girl had held over them all her life. He wandered to the outskirts where her home was, planning to forbid entrance to the path that would lead her among the village. He thought of his wife and his young daughter, and he thought perhaps she could be reasoned with. He stood there steeling himself even as the sun began to set. It was dark inside her cottage, dark in the shadows beneath dark oaks. He did not approach her, but waited, biding the time between sunset and moonrise with thoughts of happy times spent with his young family. But the fear was growing more and more powerful, as if it came from elsewhere and planted seeds all along his crawling spine. Silence surrounded him and grew. There were no night birds, no insect chirps, no rustling leaves. no wind. And then, as the first sliver of moon appeared over the top of the far-off mountain, he heard a thunk, 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 thunk. The door creaked open with a quiet, rusty whine. He strained his eyes to see through the shadows. If she glowed in the dark, now would be the time to find out. He looked so hard he could see spots. He listened so hard he could hear the blood rushing through his veins. But nothing. She did not appear. The cottage lurked beneath the trees like an enormous monster waiting to pounce. The trees themselves were like the skeletons of giants, dark and still as death. He stood there for ages, breathing, watching, listening, until at last he can no longer outlast the suspense. His nerves were failing. He approached the ominous cottage, his leather boots tapping along the packed dirt path. Without a word, he walked through the door and let the darkness swallow him. Inside, the cottage smelled of mold, moss, and dirt. More crypt than cottage, really. His eyes adjusted, and he saw her, sitting calmly in the chair watching him, her silvery, fishy eyes unblinking. She was holding something in her hands that he couldn't quite see, but he held out his palms in a gesture of peace and opened his mouth to ask her why she lived such a lonely life. But then he realized he was frozen in place. She stood. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Her footfalls were hollow. Hollow as a dead tree. Hollow as the lifeless look in her eyes. Hollow as his heart. He could see now what she was holding. It was a bottle. And when she lifted the cork, he felt his soul being pulled from his body like a whirlpool. He floated up a slight ways, so light, so impossibly light that he thought he would blow away if there was any wind at all. But it wasn't the wind that was drawing him into the jar. When it was over, his body fell to the floor, and she replaced the cork and set the jar on the shelf, and then headed out to walk the path to the village. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The end. That was fun. I always wanted to write a fairy tale. Thank you for hanging out with me while I did that. I hope you're not too scared. Seriously though,